Triple E EDC here, and I know I've already done a review on the Smock, and if you haven't seen it, obviously go check it out. But that is not the reason for this video. The reason for this video is because I need to set the record straight. I've seen a number of reviews at this point on several channels talking about one thing, and one of the drawbacks of this knife. And if you look at it, I think you can figure out what it is. Well, it's this. The half choil, if you want to call it that. It's actually a cutout that's made to accommodate the pin that is, I'm sorry, this is a stop pin. This is the pin right here for the compression lock. And so in order for it to not hit that pin, there has to be that cutout. Now, many people have complained about that, not because necessarily they want a choil, although some have complained about that, and I actually was one of those people. But really, they complained about the usable cutting edge. And the usable cutting edge is what I want to set this record straight about. While I generally prefer larger knives, and I generally prefer more cutting edge than what's on the Smock here, it's not wholly inadequate as other videos seem to make it out to be. And I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. I actually really respect just about everyone who's put out these videos, but I do want to just set the record straight for people who may be turned off by comments about the cutting edge. So let's talk about other knives and their cutting edges and how they compare to the Spyderco Smock. So let's start out with other Spydercos. How about the Spyderco Yojimbo 2? This is the Blade HQ version that was just released in CPM M4. And if you look, the cutting edge on this knife is almost the same. I mean, it is very, very similar. And why is that important? Because on this specific knife, this is a self-defense knife. It's designed for self-defense. Now, I'm not a self-defense expert. Don't go out and use it, if you don't know what you're doing. But it's made for self-defense, which means you need some modicum of reach with it. So if this was wholly inadequate with the usable blade length, it's a wonder why this is used as a self-defense knife. Let's look at another one, Manix 2, Spyderco Manix 2. And if you look here, again, usable cutting edge is very, very, very similar. Very similar. But you don't hear anyone complaining about the usable cutting edge on the Manix 2. In fact, people tout it as a hard user, even despite the full flat grind. Let's look at another popular Spyderco, the PM2. So this one, if you look, obviously the PM2 is a little bit longer, but not that much longer. And frankly, the part that it's longer on is all belly. So I would argue that the belly on here, at that very tip, is not quite usable as an edge. Now, it's usable as a tip, but it's not necessarily usable as an edge in many applications. But you, again, don't hear anybody complaining about the usable cutting edge on the PM2. Let's look at some other knives. Now, let's look at the Ontario Rat 1. Okay, this is known to be probably a very standard size knife with a standard size cutting edge, and it's really a standard in the industry. So let's look at this. And if you look at this, the usable cutting edge, the flat on the Ontario Rat, is actually shorter than the flat on the Spyderco Smock. Now there is about another maybe ½ inch of belly there, but that belly is so steep, it's not really usable in many of the applications you're going to be using it for. So this reverse tanto here, or sheep's foot, is actually much more useful at the tip for a wide range of applications than this drop point. although there are many good uses for a drop point as well. And along that same token, ZTO609, which actually pretty much has the same exact edge and blade shape as a Ontario Rat 1. I was kind of surprised by that actually, but they're almost exactly the same. And so the same that I've already talked about with respect to the Ontario Rat 1 is going to also apply to the ZTO609. The one brand that really, at least in the knives that I own, that has much more usable cutting edge on many of their knives than the Spyderco Smock is going to be Benchmade. Benchmade for a similarly sized knife. You see the blade is similarly sized, but the usable cutting edge is much, much more than the Spyderco Smock. Now another Benchmade knife that's going to be a standard size and very similar size to this, and also very slim like this, is going to be the Benchmade 940. So as you can see, it's almost the same size knife as the Smock, but the usable cutting edge, again, you have another 1/2 inch of cutting edge, which is mostly flat. And this is mostly flat. And all three of these have this same sort of sheep's footy reverse tanto style blade going on, which really serves to show how pronounced this loss of blade becomes. The point here is that while it is shorter than many of the couple of Benchmades that I just showed you, with respect to Spyderco's lineup and its very popular knives, the Manix 2, the PM2, the Yojimbo 2, the Smock is squarely within range on the cutting edge for all of these. So when someone complains about the cutting edge on the Smock, show them this video, let them know that the Smock is more than adequate with respect to cutting edge, even if it's not what my preference would be on most knives, as I actually prefer something even a little larger than the Griptilian, such as the Super Freak. I find this to be a perfectly sized knife and handle. But I do enjoy ones that are even larger than that. Okay, I think that's it for me. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Like and leave a comment. Let me know if you what you think about the Smock and the cutting edge, usable cutting edge. Let me know if you've had any trouble with it in any applications, or if you have anything that you want to add to the discussion. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.